Have you ever noticed how some people, especially the ones who pretend to have it all together, suddenly get uneasy around you? It's not your imagination, it's not arrogance, it's your light unsettling their darkness. Because when you walk into a room with authenticity, self-respect, and calm strength, you become everything a narcissist can't control. When you live authentically, you become something a narcissist cannot imitate or control. Authenticity is rare in a world built on masks, pretenses, and approval seeking. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing who you are, not from what others think about you. When you walk into a room as your true self, unfiltered, grounded, and unapologetic, you unconsciously threaten those who rely on illusion to survive. Narcissists build their identity out of admiration and control. They need others to believe in the image they project. But authenticity doesn't play that game. It sees through performance. It recognizes truth and falsehood instantly, and that is why your presence unsettles them. You are not competing with them, yet your authenticity feels like competition. You don't expose them with words, but your energy does. You are what they wish they could be, real, whole, and free. When you speak, your words carry emotional honesty. When you listen without agenda. When you love without manipulation. These qualities strip away the false power narcissists hold over others. Their world runs on control, but your presence runs on connection, and connection always outshines control. A narcissist's illusion thrives on attention. The more people believe their story, the more powerful they feel. But authenticity doesn't feed that story. You don't clap for performances. You don't engage in ego games. You stand calmly in truth, and that calm is louder than their drama. They sense it immediately, the energy of someone they cannot deceive. It's like standing in front of a mirror that doesn't distort the reflection. For them, it's unbearable. You don't even have to point out their lies. Your integrity does that silently. You hold up the truth just by being yourself. Authentic people don't crave validation. They create it from within. You don't need to prove your worth through others' reactions. You're not chasing attention. You're radiating presence. That's why narcissists find it impossible to maintain their control around you. They rely on people's insecurities to manipulate, but you've already made peace with yours. You've learned to embrace your flaws, your strengths, and your journey. When someone can't use your fears against you, they lose their weapon. Your authenticity also brings out what they're hiding. It acts like a spiritual mirror, reflecting not just who you are, but who they are pretending to be. The honesty in your eyes exposes the emptiness behind theirs. The kindness in your tone reveals the coldness in their manipulation. And the courage in your self-expression reminds them of how much they've buried their true selves under layers of ego and control. You don't mean to expose them, you just do, by existing truthfully. So yes, your authenticity makes narcissists uncomfortable. But it's not a weakness, it's your superpower. It's the quiet rebellion of staying real in a fake world. It's the refusal to wear a mask, even when others demand it. And in a world that rewards pretending, your honesty is a revolution. Keep being real. Because your light doesn't just expose the darkness, it also shows others how to find their way back to truth. Confidence that doesn't depend on anyone else's approval is one of the most powerful forces in the world. When you reach the point where your sense of worth no longer sways with someone's opinion, you become untouchable. Narcissists, however, feed on validation like oxygen. Their entire sense of self is built upon how others respond to them, how much admiration they can extract, how much attention they can command. So when they meet someone who doesn't play that game, someone who doesn't flinch at their disapproval or glow at their praise, they don't know what to do. You remove the fuel that keeps their ego alive. You see, narcissists are experts at testing people. They compliment to hook you, then criticize to control you. They alternate between charm and withdrawal, trying to keep you in a loop of trying to win them back. But when you're confident from within, that loop breaks instantly. Their approval no longer defines your peace. You no longer dance to their tune. You know who you are, and no one, especially not someone who thrives on manipulation, gets to rewrite that truth. This silent power shakes them. They realize their tricks don't work on you, and that realization makes them deeply uncomfortable. True confidence doesn't shout. It doesn't need to prove itself. It's quiet, steady, and deeply rooted. It comes from knowing your own story, understanding your own value, and being comfortable with your own imperfections. Narcissists, on the other hand, wear their confidence like a costume. It's loud, performative, and fragile. So when your calm assurance stands next to their exaggerated self-importance, their mask begins to crack. You don't even have to confront them. Your inner peace exposes their inner chaos. There's also something magnetic about a person who doesn't need validation. People sense authenticity in your energy. It feels safe, trustworthy, and ground. Narcissists sense it too, but instead of admiring it, they envy it. They crave the freedom you embody. You remind them of everything they're pretending to be, self-sufficient, emotionally stable, and at ease with life. But the difference is that your confidence is real and theirs depends on constant applause. Being around you reminds them of the emptiness beneath their ego, and they can't handle that reflection for long. When you stop chasing approval, you stop giving others permission to define your worth. That's when you begin living on your own terms. Your choices, your boundaries, and your peace are no longer negotiable. You no longer react to manipulation. You respond with clarity. You no longer absorb criticism. You see it as projection. And when you walk away, you don't do it out of anger. You do it out of self-respect. That kind of confidence disarms a narcissist completely. So don't ever shrink your light to make others comfortable. Your confidence isn't arrogance, it's self-trust. And when someone built on control feels uneasy around that, it's not your problem to fix. It's their illusion starting to crumble in the presence of your truth. Emotional depth is a language most narcissists can't understand. It's not just about feeling more. It's about seeing beneath the surface, noticing what's unspoken, and connecting with people in ways that go beyond appearance or performance. When you live from that depth, you carry a kind of quiet power. You can sense truth, pain, and authenticity without anyone saying a word. To a narcissist, that's terrifying because they survive by hiding behind masks. They depend on others being fooled by charm and false confidence. But your sensitivity sees through all of it. You read energy, not just words. And when you look at them, they feel seen, not for who they pretend to be, but for who they really are. Narcissists are masters of imitation. They can mimic empathy, kindness, or love, but they don't truly feel those things. They study emotions like actors studying lines. They know when to nod, when to cry, when to flatter, but it's always performance. When they meet someone with real emotional intelligence, that performance starts to fail. You notice the inconsistencies. You see how their compassion doesn't match their actions, how their words sound rehearsed, how their energy doesn't align with their tone. You see what they don't want anyone to see, the emptiness beneath the act. Your emotional depth exposes their emotional shallowness. It's not because you try to reveal it. It happens naturally. When you speak from the heart, they feel the lack of one in themselves. When you connect authentically, they feel their own inability to connect. Your vulnerability highlights their defensiveness. Your openness reminds them of how guarded and hollow their inner world really is. They feel naked around your sincerity, and that's why they pull away, criticize, or try to undermine you. But emotional depth is not weakness. It's a form of strength that narcissists can't comprehend. To feel deeply in a world that rewards numbness takes courage. To empathize, even after being hurt, is power. Narcissists fear emotional people because they cannot control what they can't understand. They don't know how to manipulate authenticity. They can gaslight logic, twist words, and rewrite stories, but they can't fake energy. When your intuition picks up on something false, their entire manipulation loses its grip. You also have something they crave: connection. Narcissists want admiration, not intimacy. They want to be seen as superior, not understood as human. But deep down, even they crave the kind of connection you naturally offer. Your ability to love, to listen, and to care with depth stirs something inside them they can't handle. It reminds them of what they've buried: shame, vulnerability, humanity. They run from it, but they can't unfeel the discomfort your presence brings. Your emotional depth is not a curse, it's a gift. It's what allows you to see truth in a world full of masks. It's what keeps you grounded when others are playing roles. And while it might make narcissists uncomfortable, it also makes genuine souls feel safe. Never apologize for that. Your heart is your strength, and it's the one thing a narcissist will never be able to imitate. Boundaries are not about keeping people out, they're about keeping yourself safe. They are the invisible lines that define where you end and someone else begins. For people with healthy emotional balance, boundaries are respected naturally. But for narcissists, boundaries feel like rejection, control, or punishment. They see them as walls blocking their access to power. And that's exactly why your ability to set and maintain boundaries makes them so uncomfortable. It reminds them that they don't have control over you anymore. When you set boundaries, you break their favorite illusion, the belief that they can do whatever they want and you'll tolerate it. Narcissists thrive on blurring emotional lines. They want you to feel responsible for their moods, guilty for saying no, and afraid to walk away. But when you calmly draw the line and enforce it, you destroy that dynamic. You stop being their emotional supply. You stop being someone they can manipulate through guilt or fear. You show them that your love, your time, and your energy are privileges, not obligations. The truth is, setting boundaries takes courage. It means you've finally decided that your peace matters more than pleasing anyone else. Narcissists interpret that peace as defiance because they're used to people bending to their will. When you don't react to their anger or guilt trips, they feel powerless. When you don't chase after them after they withdraw, they lose control of the narrative. That's why they push harder at first, testing your resolve, trying to break your new strength. But each time you stand firm, their power weakens. They realize you've outgrown their manipulation. Healthy boundaries are more than just rules. They're acts of self-love. Saying no when something doesn't feel right, taking time for yourself without apology, refusing to explain your decisions, these are all declarations that your energy is sacred. Narcissists can't handle that level of self-respect because they depend on others abandoning themselves for them. When you no longer do that, they're forced to confront the truth that they were never in control. You simply allowed access, and that access can be revoked at any time. Boundaries also strip away their ability to rewrite reality. When you have clear lines, you don't fall for gaslighting. You don't question your memory or your emotions. You know what you said, what you meant, and what you deserve. That clarity terrifies a narcissist because it removes their favorite weapon, confusion. They can't twist your truth when you stand firmly in it. Over time, your boundaries become a mirror reflecting your growth. They show how far you've come from the days you tolerated mistreatment just to keep the peace. Now, your peace is the priority. And while narcissists may call you selfish or cold for protecting your energy, you know the truth. You're just choosing yourself for once. That choice isn't cruelty, it's freedom. Because the moment you learn that saying no doesn't make you unkind, it makes you unstoppable. Healing changes your energy in ways that words can't describe. When you start doing the inner work, facing your pain, taking responsibility for your growth, forgiving yourself, and reclaiming your power, you begin to radiate a calm strength that narcissists can't tolerate. Your healing becomes a silent reminder of everything they refuse to confront within themselves. They live in denial, constructing identities built on blame and superiority, while you've learned to look in the mirror and see truth. That difference shakes them. You've done what they're too afraid to do: feel, process, and evolve. Narcissists survive by avoiding self-reflection. They bury shame under arrogance and project their flaws onto others. When they see someone like you, someone who has faced their darkness and still stands tall, it makes them uneasy. Your peace exposes their chaos. Your self-acceptance highlights their self-loathing. You are proof that healing is possible, but to accept that would mean admitting something is broken inside them, and their ego won't allow it. So instead of being inspired, they become defensive. They criticize, mock, or distance themselves because your growth reminds them of their own stagnation. There's something powerful about a healed person's energy. It's steady, grounded, and non-reactive. You no longer get pulled into emotional storms. You don't chase validation or seek closure from those who hurt you. That kind of calm feels foreign to narcissists who feed on drama and control. They poke and provoke, hoping you'll react the way you once did. But healing changes the script. You no longer play the role they wrote for you. Your silence, your boundaries, your emotional neutrality, all of it tells them they no longer have access to your peace. That realization is deeply uncomfortable for them because they relied on your pain to feel powerful. When you heal, you stow. P being their mirror for projection. Before, they could dump their insecurities onto you, making you feel small, guilty, or crazy. Now, you recognize the pattern. You see their behavior for what it is, a reflection of their own unhealed wounds. You no longer take their words personally because you've learned that how people treat others says more about their pain than your worth. That awareness is freedom. It breaks the cycle of control and turns manipulation into noise that no longer penetrates your soul. Your healing also shifts your vibration. You attract peace instead of chaos, truth instead of pretense. That energy repels those who thrive on dysfunction. Narcissists can't survive in an environment where accountability and self-awareness are the norm. Around healed people, their tactics fall flat, their masks feel heavier, and their charm loses its effect. So they withdraw, avoid, or attack, trying to protect the illusion that you've already outgrown. And that's the beauty of it. You don't have to expose them, prove anything, or fight for closure. Your healing itself is the proof. Every boundary you hold, every moment you choose peace over reaction, every time you let go instead of explaining, you're showing them and the world what real strength looks like. Healing is not loud, but it's powerful enough to make those still hiding from their pain deeply uncomfortable. There is something profoundly unsettling to a narcissist about someone whose energy cannot be controlled. They are used to bending people with manipulation, charm, or intimidation. They study reactions like a chess player studies moves, always looking for the next opportunity to dominate emotionally. But when they meet you, someone whose peace is not for sale, whose energy is not easily swayed, they lose their footing. You've reached a place where your self-trust and emotional balance are stronger than their games. That quiet stability frustrates them because they can't get a grip on it. They can't pull you into chaos, and chaos is where they feel most powerful. When your energy is rooted in self-awareness, you stop feeding into their patterns. You no longer rise to their bait or absorb their negativity. Narcissists depend on reactions. It's how they measure control. Whether you're angry, apologetic, or desperate to fix things, it all gives them power. But when you stay calm, detached, and grounded, they sense that loss of control instantly. It's like trying to play chess with someone who no longer sits at the board. They'll try harder, criticize, provoke, guilt trip, but nothing works. Your non-reaction becomes louder than any argument. It tells them, you don't have power here anymore. You've learned to protect your energy because you understand its value. You know not everyone deserves access to your emotions, your empathy, or your time. That kind of energetic discipline confuses narcissists. They're used to draining people who overgive, who explain, who stay just to prove they're kind. But you no longer do that. You give intentionally, not impulsively. You speak when necessary, not to defend yourself. You walk away when peace costs too much. That self-control, that serenity, it's power disguised as stillness. And narcissists don't know how to navigate stillness. They need reaction to survive. When your energy becomes stable, you also stop mirroring theirs. Before, you might have matched their anger, tried to reason with their chaos, or gotten trapped in emotional tug-of-war. But healing teaches you a higher frequency. You begin to vibrate at a level where their games no longer reach you. You observe without absorbing. You understand without engaging. You let their behavior reveal itself without trying to fix it. And that drives them mad because it reminds them that you've evolved past the version of yourself they could control. You also radiate something they can't imitate: peace. Not the fake kind that hides pain, but the kind that comes from knowing who you are. That energy feels intimidating to those who rely on domination. They can't manipulate someone who isn't afraid of losing them. They can't guilt someone who's already made peace with solitude. They can't control someone whose happiness isn't tied to approval. In the end, your unshakable energy exposes everything they hide. You don't fight for control, you simply refuse to surrender it. And that refusal is the ultimate liberation. Because when your energy is sovereign, no one can take it, twist it, or use it against you. It becomes your armor, silent, steady, and untouchable.